There is a cardinal in your yard right now who has been watching you for months. Every morning you step outside, every afternoon you walk past the feeder, every time you move through the space, he has claimed as his territory. And somewhere in that small red bird, there is a list, a threat list, and you might be on it. Most people never find out. Not because they haven't done anything, because nobody told them what puts you there. Subscribe to Bird Sense right now. This is exactly what we uncover every week. To understand the list, you have to understand what a wild bird's memory is actually built for. We tend to think of animal memory in terms of what animals can and cannot remember, whether they recall faces, whether they recognize places, whether they can solve problems. But that framing misses the point entirely. A wild bird's memory was not built to store information. It was built to survive. And those are two very different things. Every piece of information a bird retains about its environment exists for one reason: to make faster, more accurate decisions about what is safe and what is not. The cardinal at your feeder is not storing memories the way you store memories. He is building and continuously updating a threat model, a living, dynamic map of everything in his territory that has ever registered as dangerous and everything that has not. That map includes you, not as a face in the way a friend's face is stored, not as a name or a personality, but as a behavioral signature, a pattern of actions that his nervous system has been cross-referencing against one fundamental question. Since the first morning he saw you, does this thing represent a threat to my survival? And the answer he has been building, observation by observation, morning by morning, is more detailed than most people ever realize. The research on this is specific, and it is not comfortable reading. A study on American crows, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, documented what happens when a human handles a crow, captures it, bans it, releases it. Even when that handling causes no lasting harm, the crow remembers, not just for days, for years. It will alarm call at the specific person who handled it. It will recruit other crows to mob that person. It will pass that information to crows that were never present for the original event. The crow has placed that person on a list, and that list does not expire. Now, the cardinal in your yard is not a crow. The cognitive architecture is different. The social transmission of threat information between cardinals is less developed than it is in corvids, but the core mechanism, the capacity to recognize a specific human, associate them with a threat event, and update behavior accordingly, is present across far more species than most people realize. Research on northern mockingbirds found that birds in residential areas could reliably identify individual humans who had approached their nests, responding with dramatically increased aggression toward those specific people, while completely ignoring others who passed by at the exact same distance. The bird had made a distinction. It had identified a specific human as a threat and filed that identification in a way that persisted and drove behavior for months afterward. That filing is the list. The question that matters for you is, what puts you on it? The answer is not what most people assume. It is not loud noise. It is not large movements. It is not even being physically close to the birds. Wild birds are remarkably tolerant of humans who move predictably through a familiar environment. The cardinal that has been visiting your feeder for 2 years has learned your presence, your routine, your movement patterns. Your existence in the yard is not a threat event. It is background data. What puts you on the list is a specific kind of action, an action that crosses the line between neutral presence and perceived predatory behavior. The most reliable trigger is direct approach combined with sustained eye contact. Research on multiple bird species has confirmed that the combination of a human moving toward a bird while maintaining direct gaze triggers a significantly stronger alarm response than either behavior alone. Movement toward prey combined with fixed gaze is the behavioral signature of a predator. Birds that did not respond to this combination did not pass on their genes. The ones at your feeder today are the descendants of generations that responded to it correctly and fast. If you have ever walked directly toward a bird while looking at it, you have done something that registers in its nervous system as predatory behavior. Whether it filed that registration permanently depends on what happened next, how close you got, whether the approach felt like a chase, and whether you have a prior history with that specific bird that provides context. But the registration happened, and it happened the moment you took that first step. The second major trigger is nest disturbance. This one is significant because most people who disturb nests do not know they are doing it. A northern cardinal nesting in a hedge near your back door experiences every time you open that door during nesting season as a potential threat approach. If you have ever trimmed a hedge with an active nest inside it, you have created a threat event of considerable severity in the bird's experience, regardless of whether you knew the nest was there, regardless of whether you meant any harm at all. The behavioral response to nest disturbance is among the most persistent threat associations birds form. Research on mockingbirds found that individuals who had approached nests were met with alarm and active mobbing behavior on return visits. Up to a full season later, the bird had not forgotten, and it had not reclassified the person as safe based on subsequent neutral interactions alone. This is the part of the list that is hardest to get off. The third trigger is feeder interference. This one is subtler and catches more people off guard. Taking down a feeder, moving a feeder without allowing a transition period, repeatedly approaching a feeder while birds are actively using it. All of these actions disrupt a resource that the birds in your yard have incorporated into their daily survival strategy. The disruption itself is not the threat event. The human consistently associated with that disruption is. Research on bird responses to feeder management has found that birds return more slowly and with significantly higher vigilance after feeder disruptions than after equivalent disruptions with no human involvement. The birds are not just responding to the absence of food, they are responding to the human they associate with that absence. You are being held responsible, and the file is being updated accordingly. So what do you do about it? The honest answer is that some entries on the list are permanent. The mockingbird that flagged you during nesting season last year may never fully reclassify you as safe. The crow that you once approached too directly has filed that event in a way that time alone will not erase. But most of the list is dynamic, and the mechanism that adds entries to it is the same mechanism that allows them to be revised. Consistent, predictable, low-threat behavior over time is what moves you out of the threat category and into the recognized safe category. Not a single interaction, not a particularly careful day, a pattern, the same calm approach to the feeder every morning, the same predictable routine, the same soft presence that never crosses the behavioral line between neutral and predatory. Research on long-term bird-human interactions has documented what this shift looks like in practice. Birds that experience consistent, non-threatening contact with a specific human over weeks and months gradually allow closer approach, reduce their alarm call frequency in response to that person's appearance, return to feeders more quickly after disturbance when that person is present, and over time, stop registering that person as a variable that requires active threat assessment at all. You become background, safe background, and for a wild bird that spends most of its life in a state of active vigilance, safe background is one of the most valuable categories a human can occupy. The list does not have to define the relationship, but you have to earn your way off it. and you earn it the same way you got on it, through accumulated behavior, morning by morning, in the yard you share with birds that have been paying far more attention to you than you ever knew. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had a bird in your yard that seemed to react to you differently from other people? Alarm calls that stopped when someone else appeared, or started specifically when you did. A bird that seemed to track you across the yard in a way that felt like more than coincidence? I want to hear about it. I read every single one. Subscribe to Bird Sense. And if you want to understand exactly how the cardinal in your yard has been building its behavioral file on you, and what you can do to change what is in it, that video is right there waiting for you.